gentlemen, retired U.S. Army veteran Johnny Edward Davis.
Johnny Davis. I was a specialist fourth. Okay, I was drafted. We had a lottery number. Mine was 60, number 60. So I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I left Fort Jackson and took my AIT training in Fort Rucker, Alabama, in fixed wing maintenance. So I left there for about 2 weeks, and I started processing going to Vietnam. Went into a place called Cameron Bay, processed there, and went to Pleiku, which is Central Highlands near the Laos and Cambodia border. Our mission was to go out and find the enemy, but we also inserted American the first 6 months I was there. Of course, the last 6 months we started putting the South Vietnamese Army out. One of the medals that I received was a Bronze Star with a V, which is heroism. We was at Kontum Air Force Base waiting on our next mission, and the C-130 was coming in and turning and taking off and rolling out the supplies, but they'd taken mortar rounds all day there. So as one of them came in and made the turn to leave, about halfway down the runway, got hit with a mortar round, so it went off the end of the runway, and my crew jumped on the helicopter and went down, and we went in and got two of the crew out. Of course, two of them had walked away, so we got them out and got them to safety. So, and when we came back, we was treated horrible. We was stuff thrown out through the airport. We was spit upon and cursed at. We was treated horrible because there was so much going on during that time. This year, my family doctor, he's a veteran. He kept on wanting me to get enrolled into the VA program, which I went down in January and started that process. And one of the gentlemen down there saw my DD-214 form. He's seen the medals and stuff I had, and so he started talking to me about it, and he wanted me to ask me if he could put me up to get inducted into it. He said, you need to tell your story to the young people out here, because they don't know. And he said, that's history, and they need to know what you went through and how Vietnam really was. Well, I had never told my wife for 44 years, or my kids. I have 3 children, and none of them knew anything about it. I didn't really consider myself a hero. It's an honor. It's an honor to be accepted in an organization like this.
And Specialist for U.S. Army Vietnam vet Johnny Davis, we are so proud you are still here and are honored. Ladies and gentlemen, William James Hoagland.
William Hoagland. I retired from the Army as a major out here on Red Star Arsenal. I enlisted in October of 1962, July of 66, went to Vietnam. I spent that tour in Vietnam with the 25th Infantry Division Artillery Aviation Section, flying OH-23Gs, Bubbles, and that's where I earned my DFC. I came back to the States and was a flight instructor in Mineral Wells, Texas, and in 1968 I went down to Savannah and went through Cobra Instructor Pilot School and went back to Vietnam as a Cobra Instructor Pilot. I spent another year there teaching people how to fly Cobras. I was at the VA office downtown, and the individual I was talking to was looking at my DD-214, and he said, well, you're the real deal, and he nominated me to be inducted, and happened this year. I think it's good for a young person to serve. I learn a lot and I think it helps them later in life.
Once again, I want to introduce you to a very special man. He is Anthony Paul Kosarsky, First Lieutenant, U.S. Marine Corps, served in Vietnam, shot down 1968, Bronze Star Medal with Valor, served in the Navy Marine Corps, achieved the Medal with Honor, and also the Purple Heart First Gold Star. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Kosarsky. His story.
My name's Tony Kosarsky. I was in the Marine Corps, and I was a captain when I was discharged. Number one, my MOS in the military was a infantry officer. So right away you're going to see combat, close combat, maybe the worst type of combat. My first assignment would be with a regiment that is called the Walking Dead. It's the unit, Marine Corps unit, that has in history had most casualties. I was a platoon commander for 3 months until I got wounded my second time and spent almost a month in a Da Nang Naval Hospital. There was that unwritten understanding that if you had 2 combat wounds, they weren't going to put you back in a combat position. Well, that's not true. I was assigned to the MAC-V unit. It's a military advisory command. It's people who advise the South Vietnamese army. I said, oh, my luck. My luck's not very, very good. You had to go. You did. It was your job, and you did the best you could. Why I've been elected or inducted into the Hall of Heroes was partly I did some supposedly heroic deeds. It wasn't unusual to be in a firefight often, 3-4 times a week. And I just got into one that was pretty heavy. I supposedly saved some of my people, killed some of the enemy, and being the leader of that group in that location, whether you deserve it or not, you got credit for all these good things. It's fine. It's an honor, and I feel good, feel proud. But you know what? The real guys who need to be here is the ones that can't be here. The guys that didn't make it back. Nobody's there to tell their story, the story about how they saved people, killed the enemy, did anything successful. They're the ones that really need honored.
So poignant, so special, so difficult to share from retired First Lieutenant of the Marine Corps, Tony Kosarsky. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank all of our Hall of Heroes this year for remembering and sharing with us what went on in Vietnam. Lieutenant Colonel Richard Gray served in our military. He served for a long time now, works at Lockheed at Liberty Learning. Let's listen in.
My name is Richard Gray, Dick Gray. I served in the United States Army, Infantry and Armor. I got out as a retired lieutenant colonel right here in Huntsville, Alabama, because our family just loves Huntsville. I was commissioned from the United States Military Academy in 1964. I went from there and served a tour as a 4 Deuce platoon leader in Korea. From there, I went immediately to Vietnam as a reconnaissance platoon leader in the 25th Infantry Division. I did a lot of the initial reconnaissance for the 25th Division of the area of the Iron Triangle to Cambodia, back to the northern Mekong Delta area. It's there where I spent a complete year, was wounded the first time near a city called Trang Bang between Cu Chi and the Cambodian border. My second tour was with the 173rd Airborne Brigade, and that's where I lost my leg in action. I was a platoon leader and a company commander, and it was my men that I'm most proud of, and this is their honor. Quite amazing. It's been an amazing experience. So I want to thank my troops, the young men that served in Vietnam, and the young ladies, and the people in the hospitals that took care of me, because they're the real heroes.
They are the real heroes. Thank you for serving, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Army retired Richard Gray. So while we wait, we want to introduce you to one of our heroes, someone who has served. He is Major Harold Stitt. Major Harold Stitt served in the U.S. Army during Vietnam. He earned the Distinguished Flying Cross as well as the Purple Heart. Thank you for serving, Major Harold Stitt. Here's your story.
My name's Harold Stitt. I retired as a major from the Army in 1986. Back in 1965, the Vietnam War was going on, but they weren't drafting married men at that time. And then all of a sudden the situation changed, and they were now decided they were going to draft married men with no children. Well, now I'm caught up in that web. So I decided, no, I'm not going to let them draft me. I'm going to join the Army and go to flight school. I did join the 191st Assault Helicopter Company at Fort Bragg. We were forming up a new unit, and we took it to Vietnam. A friend of mine came in and told me we were still living in tents, and he said, I need an aircraft commander. I have to go see the battalion commander. So I went out and got on the flight. Had already left. They were called back out for that night. And I joined up with them. I had no idea what position we were in or anything. I landed on a dirt road down in the Mekong Delta with the rest of them. What had happened is their units had gotten in, made contact with the enemy, and they wanted to reinforce. So we took off. We went into that landing zone. It was hot. There was, tracers in the air all over the place. Well, a couple came through the cockpit. They get your attention when they get close to you, you know. And I felt a little sting in my left leg, but the adrenaline's pumping. You don't know. When I was coming back out of there, I felt something warm and wet, and I knew I hadn't done anything to cause that. I had a pilot with me that had been in Vietnam less than 2 weeks, had about 30 hours flying time there. Now, he's in the worst situation you could put a helicopter pilot in Vietnam. I'm sorry, that's it. Flying night formations into a hot landing zone is the worst thing you can get into. So I'm looking at this guy and say, well, what if I can't fly, can he? And I said, oh, I don't know. So I assessed it, and I said, okay, I think I can fly. We went back, picked up another load of troops, went back into the same place, same thing all over again. When our mission was over, I stopped and was treated at an aid station on the way back. I dug some fragments out. It was mostly shrapnel. And the following morning, much to my surprise, there was I got a call down to the battalion commander's area, and there was a 2-star general there, and he gave me a spot award, the Distinguished Flying Cross and the Purple Heart. The Associated Press picked up on it, okay, and came back. And of course, we had no other communications but to write a letter, okay. So I wrote a letter very quickly to my wife and said, no matter what you might hear, I'm okay, all right, see? Well, the following day, got a phone call from the local radio station and said, how bad your husband get shot last night? That's how she found out. So she's my hero, bar none. The ladies went through it, period. They are really not recognized for what they did. The very name, the Hall of Heroes, kind of makes you shudder a little bit. We didn't look at ourselves as heroes. We didn't do what we did for somebody to pin a medal on us. And seeing what the group of people that I'm joining, okay, I feel very, very humble and very pleased to be with them. I'm feel very honored and pleased, and I've been treated so very well with this. And I only wish that my hero, Virginia, my wife, was with me, because she's a part of it, a very big part of it.
Major Stitt, thank you for serving. Now we take a brief moment also to remember our last member of the Hall of Heroes this year. His name is Lou Pamplin. And Lou Pamplin was an SP4 in the U.S. Army. He is retired now, served in Vietnam. 1970, he earned the Bronze Star Medal with Valor, as well as the Purple Heart. He's now been inducted in our honor roll in Huntsville. Thank you for serving Lou Pamplin. Here's your story.
My name is Jebron Pamplin. Most people call me Lou. I was in the U.S. Army. I was discharged at the rank of SP4, Spec 4 Specialist. Got out the Army in Fort Hood, Texas. And back to Alabama I came. I think the 1 tour I had was enough. And I was over there for 6 months as a foot soldier, infantry. We had daily patrols, go out in the field. Life was kind of harsh for a foot soldier, for an infantryman. It was kind of harsh, but there was good times too. The camaraderie between your friends and it was just like family. We was all pretty much kids. So it was a growing up time for a lot of us. When I got out the Army, I was still too young to go into anybody's liquor store, anything like that. So it was an experience. I think military service was probably a defining point in my life. It probably shaped and molded me to what I am right now. When I got out the Army, there was nowhere for me to go. I was a high school dropout. I dropped out of high school in 11th grade. And I would like to encourage all young people that, hey, staying in school is the key. That's when I got out, I looked around, oh Lord, nah, I've been in the infantry, what do I supposed to do? So I ended up having to go back to adult education, get my high school GED, and then go on to college. Giving 2 or 3 years to your country, to one branch or another, I think that's about the best thing, the greatest experience a young person can have. Like I said, it shaped me. I was really surprised that I was chosen, because I really don't consider myself a hero. You know, you just get caught in a situation at a moment and you do what you have to do. And I know way more deserving people than me that would, you know, fit this occasion a lot better, but here I am. And it's very humbling. It's almost kind of like finally you're coming home. At the time of my service, it wasn't a big deal. Veterans came out of Vietnam, they came home. No big fanfare. You just kind of eased your way back into the country and just kind of blended back in and life as best you could. So this kind of feel like coming home.
And once again, that was Lou Pamplin, a native of Madison County. We thank him for his service, which was a defining moment in his life. He was just going to go on to live on the farm, and he has now, it turned him around, and we are so glad for that.